Welcome to the JR Fitness for Life podcast, the podcast that aims to bring you the best from the fitness world, whether that be that strength, fitness, or mindset. With me today, we've got your humble MC, your favourite MC, Mr. Ronnie Rowlands. How are you, mate?
What are you doing there, Josh? I'm good.
Stealing your tagline.
Yeah, well, you can have it. I'll invoice you for it. Yeah, you mentioned strength and what was it? Strength and nutrition. Well, you're not gonna. I'm out on that. You're not gonna get anything from me there.
But what this episode is going to be aimed at is the power of being authentic, and I feel like you are the best person that I know to bring that forward. Definitely not the best in nutrition with this on the table. Maybe we could get rid of that.
Yeah, you're actually confiscating it from.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not going to spark up. No.
No, jokes aside, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for being on.
It's my pleasure.
Love the sunglasses.
Well, these lights are so bright, you know. I wasn't going to wear these, but I've also got dark circles around my eye. People wonder why I wear sunglasses. Well, I always say, well, why are you wearing a watch? You know, it's just what Ronnie threw on today.
Absolutely.
You know?
And they're very Flintstones, right? They're very...
Flintstones?
What's her name from the Flintstones, the ginger one?
Betty? No.
No, that's Barney's wife, isn't it?
Velma?
Velma. Very Velma, I feel.
I'll take it. I was in the pub yesterday, someone said I look like Declan Donnelly. I think I...
And Deck.
Yeah. I think I prefer Velma, to be honest.
Velma Donnelly.
Yeah, you got
Perfect.
it.
So, for those of the people out there who don't know who Ronnie Rowlands is, who is Ronnie Rowlands?
You're asking me?
I'm asking you.
Ronnie Rowlands is an international ballerina, the world's fastest lover, and well, you're interviewing mainly people from the world of nutrition and fights, and so I'm guessing the reason you have me on is because I work as a ring announcer for combat sports shows here in Wales, but also all over the UK and indeed all over the world. So
the world as well, yeah,
yes,
definitely.
I'm an international MC. So yeah, you all know Bruce Buffer or Howard Finkel. Well, I'm the sort of entry gateway drug to those guys. That's who I am. Hence your humble MC, Ronnie Rowlands.
You definitely bring a sparkle to the home shows that I've been to. I've been to some years ago where it was just introduce the name, the music would play, and there'd be no... You bring a real sort of like showbiz element to the show. And I remember saying to you, because you MC'd on my fight show, I remember saying to you before I went on, I said, I've worked very hard for you to be shouting my name before my fight. And if you look at the start of my fight, I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm bouncing on my toes. It really brings a certain energy to it, and it's absolutely awesome.
Well, you know what I always say? I mean, you know, I heard what you said there about... I call them clipboard nonces. A lot of these MCs, they're sort of... And they get more work than me as well, and charge more than me, which is frustrating. I won't name them, but there are a lot of MCs who rock up 5 minutes before the show. They take a clipboard off the promoter, and then they read out the names. And, like, you know, you can get a tannoy system to do that.
Absolutely.
And what I always say, you know, because I work big shows, but when you're working smaller local shows... what I always think is a lot of these guys, you know, they're not going to make it onto Sky Sports Box, and nor do they intend to.
No, absolutely.
You know, they're not going to make it into the big leagues, but you can make them feel as though they are.
100%.
You know?
That was my world title fight.
Yeah, precisely.
Even though, you know, no one gave... Well, let's say no one gave a shit, but like no one outside that box that we were in gave a shit what happened apart from... me, and it absolutely... For me, I've been around boxing since I was about 19 and always wanted to put it together to have a fight, and a lot of things had to align for me to get to that point. So it was a hell of a journey to get there. But like you say, I've got no intent. I don't even know if I'm going to do it again. You know what I mean? But for that moment, that night, like, I had trained solidly for 6 months. You know, sparring countless rounds, my whole life revolved around boxing for that time. So for that time, I was living the fighter's life, and yeah, it was awesome. And
it's a culmination, isn't it? You know, fighters, they are very much pumped up by a number of things because they're finally, and the first step where you know, okay, this is real, is when your music starts playing.
Yeah.
You know, but on top of your music playing, you need a surge of adrenaline before you start fighting, and that can come from your coaches, that can come from the fact you're in the ring and under the lights. But ultimately, if someone's making you sound $1 million, which I try to do, and getting a reaction from the crowd and they're all screaming for you, then that can just sort of propel you a little bit further.
Oh, for sure.
Whereas if your intro is just a bit of a wet fart...
Like, this is him and he's from blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you know, you can't... It doesn't work. You know, I always say, as an MC, you know, no one's there to see me. No one's bought a ticket to watch me do intros. You're the face of the show, but you're not the star of it. Your job...
So yeah, we just had an absolute nightmare with the cameras. We're still...
Well, you did. I just played Wordle, but you had an absolute nightmare.
What a fucking ball that was. So it's done. Anyway, so we were talking... Do you remember?
Yes, I was saying that, you know, when you go into the cage or ring as an MC, you have, you know, you're the face of the show, but you're not the star of it. No one's bought a ticket to see you, so you have 3 jobs, and that's 1, to convey information, 2, to run the show in an orderly fashion, and 3, to enhance moments. You help to enhance moments that the fighters are there to create.
Absolutely. That's a real, really nice way to put it as well, enhance the moment, because it is a moment that the people who are in the ring, you know, you do it all the time, so, you know, you won't remember every single fight, but I know that I will never forget the fight that I had. So a bit of background about you, Ronnie. What's your story? What got you to the ring?
Well, gee, it's funny because ring announcing, cage announcing, it came to me sort of out of the sky, really, from the Lord. My love was wrestling. I always loved pro wrestling, and I always thought maybe I'd be a wrestling commentator or you know, a referee or something like that. But you remember Bobby? You know Bobby Pallett?
Yep.
Bobby Pallett, for those who don't know, is a pro fighter. He's fought in Bellator, Ares, FCC, Cage Warriors. He's quite an exciting young man. We're going back to 2018 now, 2017, 2018. And Bobby and Ben Stokes and Siobhan Garman and Heath Jeffries, God rest his soul.
Heath Jeffers.
Yeah, they were always working the doors at the Lily, the Fat Cat, whatever it's called now, in the Irish bar. Mainly it was the Fat Cat, and I used to go out on a Saturday night. I used to go all around town on my own, annoying people, and when I would come out for a cigarette break, I would talk to Bobby and all that lot, and they all thought I was funny because I would tell jokes and I would sing and yodel and do skits and all the rest of it. And Bobby just thought I was very funny and started putting me on his Snapchats, you know, on his socials. And one day he says, Ronnie, I've got a fight this weekend at a show called Full Contact Contender. Can you talk some shit about my opponent? And so I did this sort of. I've still got the video. I'm there bursting out of my black suit with a pint in, because I drank beer at that. I only drink wine now. I had a beer in my hand, and I was saying, "Hey, you're coming after Bobby fucking Pallett. Miracles come once in a lifetime. You're gonna need a miracle to make it to the bus stop because you're so fat and out of shape, and you're gonna need a miracle to last 10 seconds against the God of Fighting. So get down in the pew and pray, because the God of Fighting is not a merciful one. Shut your fucking dick liquor." Blah 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 blah. And
left him shaking in his boots.
Yeah. And Bobby thought this was great, and Heath was there, and he put it on his Facebook. And tagged Adam Tay. Adam Tay is the promoter of Full Contact Contender, which is now a national show. At the time it was more regional. And he put it up, and Adam Tay saw it and thought, I've got to get this guy involved, so I've got to work with him at some point. And so Adam and I spoke. This is still like 2018, so
Can't do my maths.
7 years, about 7 years ago. And Adam had this idea that I would do a segment called Ruthless Ron's Rundown, where I would talk about the fights and I would slag off the fighters and stuff and make fun of their poor grammar and all the rest. And
It sounds like a dangerous job.
yeah, and so I did one of them, and it just didn't pan out. And I was uncomfortable with it because I thought I'm not a fight person. You know, I've not. You know, they're going to use this little prick from Landidno who's slagging us all off. And but Adam sort of and I stayed in contact a little bit, and then you fast forward to 2022. This is many years later, and I'm walking along the prom, and I get a message off Adam saying, "Ron, what are you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Well, I'm probably going to go do some karaoke. Why? What are you doing?" He said, "How do you fancy trying your hand at some MCing?" He had a regular MC for nearly over a decade. Jonathan Millard, his name is, very prolific MC in professional boxing around these parts. And he'd pulled out of the show on short notice twice in a row, and Adam really needed somebody. And as far as I'm aware, he tried Ricky Wright, and Ricky Wright wasn't available. Saif Khan wasn't available. There was no one available, and he desperately needed somebody. And he thought, well, maybe that Ronnie guy can do it. And I said to him, I've never done MCing before. That's not me. It'd be a ridiculous idea. What are you talking about? And he said, Ronnie, you've done radio and acting and public speaking. I thought, this isn't the same. And he said,
definitely not the same as those, no.
No, and he just said, look, Ron, just bring a suit and we'll put you up in a hotel and we'll pay you. I thought, okay. So a few days pass, and I don't really think about it much because it's still not. I keep thinking he's going to write to me and say, don't worry about it, Ron, stand down. But the day comes and I travel up there to Bolton, to the Bolton Arena, which is down the road from the Bolton Macron Stadium, or Uni of Bolton Stadium, whatever the fuck it's called.
Reebok Stadium in my mind, that's called.
They change it every time they get new owners. And I go there on the Saturday in March 2022 in my grey suit and my sand-coloured Vans. And I get there and, they're schlepping all the steel and they're putting up the cage and the lights and everything, and I thought, oh my god, this isn't just some sort of backroom fucking bumfuck thing. This is a big production. There's cameras and everything.
You're in it for real.
Yeah, and so I thought when I got there, I thought that the promoter would sit me down for an hour and say, okay, Ronnie, this is everything that you need to do. That's what I thought I'd be getting, because I was naive at the time, and the promoter on fight day barely has time for anybody because they're getting in. The things are changing and they're stressing and all the rest. So I see Adam in person for the first time. He goes, "Hey, up, Ronnie? Yeah, talk to Brad. He'll sort you out." Brad? Brad Wharton, who was the commentator for Cage Warriors, terrific guy. And I sat down with him, and he told me, roughly what I needed to do, and there were. And
you had no idea of what was required of you before that.
I knew that I watched some UFC, and I knew. Yeah. I had watched it, but I'd never sat and studied and thought, okay, these are the precise mechanics of what the MC is doing. And so I got together all the information that I thought I needed, and because I hadn't even practiced either, because there's no point practicing because no, not for MCing, because when you're they've come for you. There's no point practicing because one, in your living room does not sound the same as an auditorium, and you've no microphone, so it's not what you sound like. And so what happened was the DJ said, "Ron, can you do a quick sound test?" And so I did this little readout in the voice I decided I was going to do, and Adam Tay is walking past and he just goes, "Yeah, Ronnie, yeah, do it like that, that's cool." I thought, okay, here we fucking go.
Hold on to your hats.
Yeah.
Ronnie.
Yeah, and I did it. I did the whole show, and I watch it back. It's the only time I've ever been shaking on camera. I wasn't nervous about the crowd, just I didn't know the beats or the expectations or the buttons to
Yeah.
press. And I finished it and I thought, well, that's something to tell the grandkids. And then I'm leaving, and Adam puts an envelope full of money in my hand and says, right, Ronnie, June 22nd, see you then. I said, what? He said, yeah, you're our MC now.
Oh, that's amazing.
I thought, okay, I'm an MC apparently. And so yeah, people say, and FCC just a few months later got their UFC Fight Pass deal. So, you know, the show has a global audience, but people say, oh, Ron, how did you go from local to FCC so quickly? Like, no, I started at FCC, and then worked down to local.
What's it like? Is there a difference when you know that you're going to be on? Because you've not just been on Fight Pass, have you? You said earlier that you've been on DAZN as well, which is obviously a huge platform.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of like nerves that set in when you know there's more eyes, or is like a show just a show?
No. When I did the Fight Pass debut, this was December 2022, I was nervous, not because there were eyes on me, because I've never been bothered about that. I was nervous because I was still so green. You know, I was as green as baby shit. And, you know, I was being trusted to be the first thing that anybody saw on this. I mean, the promotion was 10 years old at that point, but going on Fight Pass, it was new to lots and lots of people, so I was the very first thing these people saw of FCC, and I was being trusted to front it, so I was nervous about the responsibility I had. But
it's an awesome responsibility, though,
yeah,
as well, at the same time.
Yeah, but there's no nerves about the crowd because, you know, what...
Fight crowds are good crowds.
Well, yeah, but also
involved.
Any crowd, what are they going to do to... I don't get why people get nervous, and maybe this is just because I'm autistic, but which I am, but, you know, why are you nervous? What are the crowd going to do? Come and take the microphone off you? They're not going to do anything to you. The only person who's going to screw it up is you.
Yeah.
So I'm not at all nervous. I mean,
that's a very logical way to think about it, though.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we were in Germany, and that was my first international show, my first arena show, and my first DAZN show. I was more, once I got into the swing of it, I was more worried about the flight home than the show. It was it was a great honour, and I want to keep doing it, and I loved it very much. But it was no different to doing Broadway Boulevard in terms of nerves that I felt in the cage.
Well, for me, I'm a singer. I do gigs, sing, play guitar, and now I'm like 14, 15 years
old
down the line in playing.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. I could go and sing anywhere and in front of anybody, but I remember probably one of the most nervous was playing in my student union in a monkey onesie, and there was about 250 people there. It was like the most people that I'd ever played in front of, and like you say, what's the worst that can happen? It's just like singing in your bedroom.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get my fingers to listen to me. Everything sounded weird. You know, the environment wasn't what I was used to, so I think...
It's probably because you were wearing a monkey onesie in all honesty.
Well, I'm a kind of guy who, like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know, if I'm gonna make it funny, then I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I might as well do it 100%.
Yeah. But here's the thing about emceeing, you know, because I've done stage acting, I've done public speeches, I've done political speeches, I've done stand-up comedy, I've done radio, and emceeing is the least nerve-wracking thing, because if you're doing stand-up comedy, you might worry, are they going to laugh at my jokes?
Absolutely.
If you're playing music, it's going to be, am I going to forget the lines or get some bum notes? If you're giving a speech, you're thinking, am I going to lose them? When you're emceeing, you're literally holding in front of you what you're supposed to say.
Yeah.
No one is paid to see you. People are only going to notice you if you're incredibly bad.
Yeah.
Right? So it is just the least nerve... It just has the fewest bugbears emceeing. That there's just nothing to worry about.
But I don't think in you saying that just there, how much credit you give yourself for how much you bring to a show.
Well, that's
like I said earlier, I think if nobody's been and watched Ronnie, he absolutely gives 100%. It doesn't matter if you're first on or you're last on, and that's awesome. You carry that the whole way through. But this is something I wanted to say. Do you, and you must, because you must have a lot of friends in the fight game now, especially locally.
A lot of pals, yeah.
Yeah. So do you have, like, do you save special intros for, like, your mates?
No, not really. I mean, people will write to me and say they want specific things saying, but no, I don't.
Equally.
Everyone the main event's going to get a little bit more spice, obviously.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have special arrangements with people. I sometimes tease people, like Tommy Bog Harrison. Do you know Tommy? He's a local boxer. He's a lovely guy, and
is he older bloke?
No, he's young. He's only 20, I think. He's a baby. He's Tommy Bog Harrison, and I say I'm going to call him Tommy the Disabled Bog Harrison. And there's a 15-year-old called Sophia Bates, whose nickname is No Fear Sophia, and
that's a great name.
I sometimes say I'm going to call her No Vapes Bates, because I caught her trying to buy vapes once in the local shop.
Oh, how to?
But I don't actually. No, I don't have special arrangements with people or anything like that.
Who I know you said that you were big into wrestling.
Yeah.
Do you think how do I say it, like the Hollywood behind wrestling sort of has inspired your character?
No, I'll tell you exactly what in wrestling inspired me. The important thing, of course, when you start is you don't try to impersonate anybody, because then if you try to impersonate Bruce Buffer, one, you're not going to be as good as Bruce Buffer, and two, everyone's going to go, oh bless, he thinks he's Bruce Buffer, doesn't he? But you need a template, and when I think about who I based my style on, it was actually 1980s Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Now, Vince McMahon, of course, is a very bad man. He's in a lot of trouble, but in the 80s, he was a commentator, and he used to do the voiceover packages before WrestleMania, and it would always end with him saying, "Welcome to WrestleMania!" That sort of rawness, and I thought, okay, I can't do it from my nose, I can't do it from my chest, but I can do it from my throat. So I would say that the way wrestling inspired me was specifically one person within it, his voice.
Because I, like I said, I sing, but if I do 2 gigs in a day, for the next 2 days, I'm barely talking. You know what I mean? So it must be, what's the recovery like after a show?
Do you know, it used to be really bad, but the trouble is, when I first started doing it, I couldn't speak for a couple of days, and so I started bringing a jar of honey to the shows with me, and that helped. Now I don't have an issue at all, but I know what I was doing wrong. I think my throat is more used to it now, but also the problem I had on a lot of bigger shows is that I had no sense of tension, and I was announcing every single fight as though it was the main event. When I actually got to the main event, this was something that I learned as I went on. I remember my 4th ever show and my 2nd FCC. It was the first fight of the night, and it was a guy called, I think he was an independent fighter called James Valentine, and it was the start of the show. There were maybe 4 people there, but at that point I hadn't learned how to read the room or know where I was on the card, so I'm opening the first fight going, introducing James Valentine! And then there's just no reaction. You watch it back on YouTube, it's embarrassing. And so that was when I realised I'm doing this to myself for no reason. So now I know to not blow my voice out from the first fight onwards, and I think that's also why I don't lose my voice like what I used to.
I think with me, I just play what I want. And a lot of it now is just nice and chill. So definitely learned through time that I don't have to play banger after banger. So one of the reasons why I asked you to come down, and again, thank you very much for coming down, is I am sort of in my own personal life beginning to understand the importance of authenticity. So the importance of being true to yourself, being what resonates with you. And I know that through my youth especially, I've been very, very guilty of sort of mirroring my surroundings to blend in, to not stick out, to feel safe, you know.
Just turning into therapy for you.
Whatever that may be,
Yeah.
right? And I remember what really brought it to my mind was I got a friend called Simon, and he was helping people on TikTok lose weight in the same way that he was losing weight, right? Which was to keep everything very simple, train at home, look after his calories, and all the little things that he learned along the way. He was going on TikTok and he was just helping people. And I remember he made this one video where he just sat there in the car and he just said, am I arsed that I get 200 views and 4 people liking my videos? And he says, no, because if I help one of those 4 people, then I've helped one person. And I just thought, and that blew up and it went viral, and I thought, why has that gone viral? And all his other videos, which are very similar and are good content, good ideas.
It's because he showed a bit of vulnerability there.
Just showed himself, right? And I was like, how can I emulate that? But as soon as I get not emulate that as in like be him, but emulate that as in be myself. Because I know at the bones of my business is I want to help people.
Yes.
Regardless of money or, you know, I've had a conversation with a client who left today, and it was the conversation was led not by me worrying about the loss of income, but more worried about their self-care in the next however long, you know what I'm saying? So, but as soon as I get a camera out, I feel like I don't sound the same, I'm acting different, and I think it's probably because I'm really, really trying to, one, probably remember my point as well. But yeah, this is why I asked you to come in specifically. Another one, because you have a great story as well, done some great things, but what would your advice be to someone who is trying to just be themselves? Because it's very, very difficult now, especially in this social media world, where it's all about likes and engagement and numbers. How do you take a step back from that and just do something completely you?
Gee, I mean, that's I always remember before I was diagnosed as autistic, age 29, I was often trying to emulate people, and and the trouble is, it always came off as so forced that it was even more alienating to people. And I remember thinking to myself, and everyone should think to themselves, imagine you're in a restaurant and the menu's put in front of you and you're eating on your own, and someone's saying, and what will you have, Ronnie? What's Ronnie going to have off the menu? And you're there and you're making your choice and you're saying, I'm going to have the chicken liver pate and the medium rare filet mignon and chips and a tiramisu or whatever. But you are there and you are making a conscious choice of what you're going to do. And you don't even think about it. And so in a real world situation, all you're doing is doing what you would do, what you want to do. And so long as that free will does not stretch to harming anybody, that's the key to being authentic, is doing what you want.
Exactly.
And not trying to impress anybody. Some people are good at blending in and it works for them. But it is intensely relaxing to not try to be something that you're not, even if it's alienating. And it's odd because people still think, you say I'm authentic, a lot of people regard me as a cartoon character with the way that I act, the way you're probably thinking, why is he dressed as Dame Edna Everage? Because I do what I do, if, when and how, right?
I didn't expect anything else when I picked you up than you to be wearing those sunglasses.
Yeah. You can't. It is exhausting. It's exhausting not being yourself, and eventually, you reach a point. And usually, inauthenticity is that it's worse when you're in your 20s. I think once you hit 30 odd, I used to go uptown And this is before my diagnosis. And honestly, I can divide my life into pre and post diagnosis. I would go around all the pubs on my own, and talk to people and all the rest and try to get by. And I remember one day I was sat and I was really struggling to talk to anybody. There was no one who knew me, and I was sitting at the bar on my own and, I'd love to be talking to these people, I'd love to be talking to them. And I remember I was sat outside Fountains, and I was listening to two people talking to each other, two very, what you might call inauthentic people. And I was listening to it and I just thought, why in the name of all that is good would I want to be involved in that conversation or with those people?
Absolutely.
And from that moment on, I stopped going uptown. I go to my local, I know all the people there, they know me, they know what I'm about, but I no longer think about impressing people. And actually, once you go into things saying, I'm going to be myself, I'm going to get hired on my merits, and anyone else can just piss up a rope, you actually become far more successful that way, because you don't look desperate.
Absolutely.
And
I feel like, because I've been making such a conscious decision of it, that you come across way better when you're not thinking about how you're being.
Yeah.
So if I break down your advice, what you say there is just do what you want, as long as you're in the parameters where no one else is getting hurt.
When you're in the lawful parameters, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it's exhausting, and you don't attain any kind of happiness from it, I mean, to be honest, it can lead to much stronger friendships. It can also lead to you alienating yourself, because fewer people want to know you. Sometimes when you are just authentic, actually people, I don't get 720 likes on a picture of some food or whatever the fuck, because I'm not very carefully cultivating a brand. But having a small world is really the best thing that can happen to you, because then you don't worry about sort of. And it's more stressful for me as an autistic person. You don't worry about code switching or, altering your behaviour for this person and for that person and all the rest of it. I cut off a lot of people out of my life. There are people on Facebook who always say, you should cut someone off, don't take any... And they never do. Whereas I actually do. 2023, I think, I started the year with these people in my life, and I regarded them as my best friends, and by the end of the year I didn't speak to them anymore, and it was my choice not to, because I felt like they were disinterested in my authentic self, and I thought, okay, well, you're fired then.
Absolutely. That's so true.
Yeah, but you have to want to do that. You have to want a drama-free life, and you have to want to just do what you enjoy. And I'm very lucky, because I have a good source of income with my boring day job, which we won't go into.
Well, that's top secret.
Yeah, I have my evening audiobook work. I've got my beer money work, which is the fight shows. I have an ego. I am an egomaniac.
I was going to say, would you do Cameo? You ever thought about doing that? Or is that future Ron?
That could be future. If I became the sort of person who a stranger would want to pay £100 for a birthday message off, then I would.
Well, I've got an anniversary tomorrow, and I was wondering if you do one for Sarah.
I will do it for you, but for you, my boy, I do it for nothing.
Yeah, top man, thank you very much.
Yeah. Where was I going with this? Yeah, I'm fortunate enough that I can afford to just be very comfortable in life. My ego...
So do you think that maybe someone's financial situation, or maybe like you're very comfortable in your story of who you are, if you don't have those two things, do you think it's harder to be authentic?
I certainly found it so, because when I was in my 20s, especially after I left university, I was broke, ladies and gentlemen. I was on the dole. I was taking on little freelance writing jobs and all the rest of it. And I found that the great problem that I had was that it made me inauthentic, because it put me in a position where I was trying to schmooze people, or I was coming across as desperate trying to get work and all that, because I had no money. And it turned me into a desperate person. And you start not acting like your true self. You start projecting something that you think will make someone want to hire you or give you money. You start networking, and then it doesn't work. And for me, it's just horrible. I always say to people, especially if you have ambitions in life which are creative, or they're shaky financially and they take a lot of work to make work for you, have a day job. Just make sure you can keep the lights on. I'll tell you for why. When I was unemployed and I applied for a job, every second felt like an hour waiting for a response. When I was employed and applying for new jobs, I'd forgotten that I'd applied for them, because I didn't need it. I was comfortable. So just, swallow the bullet and work a day job, and just keep your lights on and keep yourself solvent, because being comfortable financially is, and I'm not talking about rich, I'm talking about being able to look after yourself. It's very, very freeing.
100%.
Yeah,
because you have that validation coming from your life, so you don't need to find that in social circles. I know I've stayed in some social circles that I definitely shouldn't have been in. But I think that's absolutely solid advice. Thank you very much. And to finish off, I have an either or for you.
Here we go.
So, every guest gets one of these.
Yeah.
I tried to make it a bit Ronnie specific. So we've gone a little bit off key at the end, right?
All right.
You got to answer as quick as possible. WWE or WWF?
They're both the same thing.
No, one's before, one's after.
WWF.
Good lad. Night in or night out?
Night out.
Film or series?
Film.
Boxing or MMA?
MMA.
Wine or beer? Know the answer.
Wine.
I know the answer to this as well. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yep. Rugby or football?
I mean, my family likes football. I don't watch either of them. I can't play rugby, but I do try.
Just in general, just in the street.
No, you that joke went way over your head.
Yeah, it really did. Explain it to me in a minute. MC in Madison Square Gardens or Win a Million?
MC in Madison Square Garden.
Bruce Buffer or Michael Buffer?
Fuck. Oh.
Ooh, goes Pusher.
Michael Buffer.
I would agree as well. Just because he's that old school. Stone Cold or The Undertaker?
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold or The Rock?
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold or Mick Foley?
Mick Foley.
I knew I'd get you that one. Have Baby Shark stuck in your head forever or never remember your own name?
So what? Have a baby shark stuck
The song, Baby Shark, did. You never heard it? It's a really annoying kid's song.
I'll have that stuck in my head. I need to know my own name. It's quite important, isn't it?
Be blind or go deaf?
Oh shit. Oh no, because both. If I'm blind, I can't read.
Yep.
If I'm deaf, I can't talk.
Yeah.
They're both awful.
You have to choose.
Oh, be deaf.
Because I think if you were one, the other would get really good.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to see really well. Phone or text?
Phone.
What's your favourite book?
Ever?
Mm-hmm.
Repent Harlequin, said the TikTok Man by Harlan Ellison.
Favourite actor?
Peter Falk.
And who is your idol?
My idol? Gee. Probably Peter Falk, Columbo, the greatest character ever created, and the greatest TV show ever written by the greatest actor ever born.
And what's that, Columbo?
Columbo.
And that's 80s, right?
70s.
70s.
Yeah, the great thing about Columbo was a scruffy working class copper who looked shabby, and all of the criminals in Columbo were these great big powerful people, musicians and politicians and lawyers and all the rest of it, and he was just this kind of underdog, and they all thought they were smarter than him, but Columbo always outsmarted them, because he would come across as shabby and actually he was sharp as a tack.
He used it.
Yes, to disarm people.
And what have you got coming up, mate?
Well, I'm now off until end of February. I was very lucky. I was in Bradford doing a show yesterday for Manchester Top Team. You heard of them?
Yes.
Yeah. Along with Next Gen Liverpool, Manchester Top Team is probably the premier farm of future MMA superstars.
I think they call it a stable, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They did their show and I did it for them. It was 50 fights, so
I did see that. That's a long night.
11-hour day, so not exactly easing myself back into it for the year. And so end of February, we've got Mike Egan. Then March, we've got FCC, we've got Azzy Thomas's show, Chris Edgehill's show, Curtis Harbord's show. I'm sure that I missed one out there. But we got a lot of shows coming up, and you'll see them promoted. And ideally, I would like to do more international work this year.
100%.
Very, very blessed to get the show in December in Germany, because it puts you in a very small percentile of MCs.
Well, I think that you're brilliant at what you do, and I'm sure that you will have a lot of work in the future. Again, thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to lock you in for that cameo for Sarah. She's going to be like, what the fuck?
I hope that this is a person you're actually with. And
It's my fiance, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll call it there. Until next time, Ronnie. Cheers, mate.
Until next time, here's to the next time.